I think what's mind-boggling is in what situation when a team is down in 2 minutes do you want to waste 30 seconds?
Right.
Like let's not even think about the last play. Let's not think about the situation that the Chicago Bears are in. Right. Let's just think any sort of 2 minute. We are losing unless we're in a position to score and we're just trying to milk the clock so the other team doesn't get an opportunity to get the ball back because let's say they have Patrick Mahomes. We don't want to waste 30 seconds.
Right.
So no matter what you say, whether you feel like you can get under 12 seconds, no matter what the situation is, the way that you execute it is not correct. You cannot say you did the right thing when you don't give your team an opportunity to make the play that they need to make in order to tie the football game. You can't say you like it because liking things in football is winning. I don't like anything I've ever done that caused me to lose. Not one thing. Even if I had great intentions. If we lost, I don't like it.
Yeah.
And the other thing is this. Nobody in the entire organization is accountable now. Caleb Williams, and this is not Caleb Williams' fault. Caleb Williams, I'm living with the call. Keenan Allen, I feel we did enough as player. The head coach, I like what we did. The entire organization has now followed Matthew Eberflus's way of losing games. Let's just blame somebody else. Nobody has to say, I could have done something better. Nobody has to say, maybe we should approach this differently in next week's preparation. Nobody.
Okay, let's talk about this because this whole thing is obviously just going to be dominated by the end of the game, and rightfully so, understandably so, but I don't want to just keep talking about that same thing. That's what everyone's talking about, and so I kind of want to take this from a few different approaches. Of course, I want to address that final game because I even wrote down kind of, how it all unfolded as well. But let's talk about the game as a whole first, and then we'll get to that infamous, final 30 seconds or so. This season, I said this, months ago at this point, but now I've been repeating it because this season was always about Caleb Williams being developed as a quarterback. He is the number 1 overall pick and a rookie quarterback. But because of so much of the expectations and Super Bowl predictions, MVP predictions, all this type of stuff, it just changed, and it was all about winning and being a top seed, being a top team, winning the division, this, that, and the third. But the reality is that that's never what this season should have been about, no matter how amazing you think Caleb was going to be or not be. But then they started winning some games, and to be fair, I predicted that I thought the Chicago Bears would make it to the playoffs, or at least be competing for a wild card, and now it feels like they're not even technically even competing for a wild card spot. But, especially how this season started to unfold, I kept saying, listen, I actually don't care anymore, like the actual nitty gritty of what this team is doing, how they're managing their games, their game plans. Like none of this matters anymore because I said their culture, their team, like all of it is such a mess. Their coaching staff, they're all going to be gone. Like whatever they do this year, like it doesn't even matter. Because it's not, there's in my mind, there's just no way they're bringing back this coaching staff. So it's just like it's just what they do today. It's not, if it's not going to affect tomorrow, then it just doesn't matter to me. And so it is like I'm kind of like, okay, well, I want to see what can Caleb continue to do. Can he grow? Can he continue to get better with each week that goes by? But this is where it's one of those games where it's like kind of so profound that you're like, all right, I gotta process what I just saw. And the way how I watched this game, because obviously it was Thanksgiving, and so I was able to watch the first half. And I watched the first half, and then I had to go drive, I had to drive my family to, like, my other family. And it was a little bit kind of a drive, so pretty much I missed the entire second half. And so I got to, to my family gathering or whatever. And they were like, oh, did you see what happened at the end of the game? And I was like, no, what happened? I was like, I assume the Lions, just continued to roll them. And they were like, oh, no, it was, 23-20. The Bears could have kicked a field goal, but they didn't call a timeout. And my cousin was telling me this. He's not, a big, massive football fan, watches games, but doesn't, really fundamentally understand football. And I was kind of like, oh, they didn't call a timeout. And he's like, yeah, they had time, and they, didn't call a timeout. And I kind of just left it at that because, again, we're with family now, and, the Giants and the Cowboys are already on now, and I was like, oh, whatever. And I know I have it recorded, and I know I was like, I'm going to go back and watch it anyway, so I don't need the details. But I obviously now knew, okay, they didn't call timeout. Okay. And so now, after dinner and all of that, now it's like hours later, I watch the end of this game at probably like 9, 10 o'clock at night or whatever, and I know the outcome. And normally when I rewatch a game, I don't want to know the outcome. I want to be able to just kind of look at it like I'm watching it live. But now I think it was actually really helpful and actually more entertaining that I knew, okay, they lose and they don't kick a field goal, because I'm kind of like, this is mind-blowing. Like, how are they, like, clearly, obviously, in field goal range? There's plenty of time. Like, what possibly could have happened? And everyone's complaining just about the timeouts. And I'm kind of doing this backwards than what I thought I was going to do, because I do want to talk about the game as a whole and not just this. But since I got into storytelling, we'll just go from there. And so what's crazy is first you have that a beautiful play call and a beautiful first down pickup, but then it's the pass interference on Komet, which is just like, absurd at this point. Like, you're doing things that you're not going to get away with, and it's like, okay, that hurts you. Now you have that missed throw from Caleb to Moore, which he just straight up missed. That's on Caleb. I'm not even going to, and again, rookies do what rookies do, but that's also just that's a bad miss. There's no other way around it, right? Throws it at his feet, and as Tony Romo said, he would have been able to take it to the 5. And at that point, you're going to score a touchdown. I mean, maybe not score a touchdown, but you're right there. You can score a touchdown, take the lead, and put the Lions on their back foot, where it's pretty much just Hail Mary time for them, right? And then you have another huge pickup, but then you have Jenkins' hands to the face. He just pops his helmet off. And again, Roman's like, they're going to call that every single time. So you have multiple penalties that are just like these automatic, like, there's no chance you're ever getting away with it. And it's just like, oh my God, like, again, what are you doing? And again, on one side, I said, at this point, this team is so poorly coached and so poorly prepared. I'm not going to, like, judge them on that, but it's just like, it is infuriating when you're watching this game like that. And then obviously, like, I'm not even going to unpack the whole no timeout and stuff like that, because people have already done that, and you already know it. You've seen it. You don't need any breakdown in that at all, right? Like, you don't need any breakdown of that. You have your eyes. If you're watching this video, you know enough about football to know what the heck was that. What the heck was that? But obviously, Caleb taking that sack is bad, and he's now done that multiple times. But I am more forgiving of that when he is a rookie quarterback. There's a lot going on, and so I'm going to be more forgiving of that, because we see seasoned veterans make those mistakes. So I'm not going to hold a rookie quarterback who's clearly in a coaching firestorm right now and hold his feet to the fire in that situation. I'm just not going. Not going to do it. But then the fact that he didn't even really rush at the line, and it was just like, there was no hustle. I mean, it was just, the whole thing just was kind of bizarre. And I would like to have seen Caleb just call that timeout, but I understand why he didn't, because again, he's a rookie, he's new, and although I've seen him and I've praised him for calling timeouts in moments, not exactly like this, but where I felt like he took charge of the offense and was like, all right, he's in command, he feels empowered. I wish he did it in that moment, but I understand why he didn't, right? He is a kid at this point, right? And he is supposed to be protected by the actual men around him, the coaching staff, and they do not do it. The number one job of any coach is to put their players in a position to succeed. That is that at the end of it, that is what we can reduce coaching to. Nothing else matters. You are putting your players in a position to succeed. If you had to reduce coaching into one sentence, that is what it is, and they clearly do not do that with any degree of regularity. And it's just kind of absurd at this point. But the game as a whole now, I mean, obviously it was the tale of two halves. I mean, that first half was just like, again, I'm watching that game and I'm quickly kind of trying to get through it because I gotta, get on with family. And it was just like, again, what is this? What is this game plan? Caleb is being wildly inaccurate. He's uncomfortable. This was now like, Caleb in the beginning of the season, not the middle, not near like the before Shane Waldron got fired. And then now with the new OC, it was kind of like we went back in time now. I'm seeing regression. I'm seeing the uncomfortability. I mean, it was just like back to back 3 and outs. And now the defense which we learned, again, you saw in the second half, played really, really well, which I'll talk about in a bit. But the defense now is on their back foot because now the defense is being carved up to begin with, just in general in that first half. But now they're extra being carved up because now they're exhausted, they're tired. It's just, again, the time of possession is so skewed. So now it's like I don't even necessarily even blame when your offense is doing absolutely nothing, like truly nothing, drive after drive after drive. There's only so much your defense is going to be able to do in those moments, because your defense is going to be exhausted. And it really is something that I think the average person just does not appreciate. Like, how you need that rest. You need, your muscles literally can't even recover. You're literally at a strength deficit still. And a hard physical team like the Lions, it's going to show up. And we saw it show up. I mean, that's why they were able to kind of, hit the ground running. But then the second half, when Eberflus was able to make some adjustments defensively, which kudos to him, but then now you actually have some sustained drives from the offense. Now you get more of an equal playing field, and we see what they did, right? 23-20. And that's where it's a shame that football's not run like this, where a traditional company outside of like an Amazon or some of these like big crazy public companies, you would look at Eberflus and say, hey, I really like what you do defensively and all of this. You were able to slow down this team. This team is on fire right now, the Lions, and yet you were able to slow them down offensively. We're going to demote you. You are not the head coach. You are just going to be in charge of this defense. You've done a great job over these last, few years or whatever with, defense. You obviously know what you're doing defensively. Everything else, man, you just know. And so we're gonna demote you to the defensive coordinator. And they don't do that in the NFL. I'm sure it's probably happened before in the history of the NFL, but it's obviously not a thing. It's just they fire you and move on. It's goodbye and good luck. And again, the defense, especially obviously in the second half, was ready to play. They completely took away the run from them, and then once the run was taken away, then some of the big chunk plays were taken away. And then they just disrupted that. I mean, that offense, I don't want to say it fell apart. That's too strong of a word, but it was clearly hobbled at that point for the Detroit Lions. And it put the Chicago Bears in a position to win. But this is what's so crazy about this. You have to understand who your team is. And this game was lost many different ways. Many, many, many different ways. And again, that's why I don't want to just focus just on that timeout. Because it wasn't just that. This was so many different things. Kick the extra point. I don't care what the math says. I don't care what the analytics say. You are not well coached enough and a good enough team to play these types of games. Okay? Kick the extra point. It's good enough. Your offense isn't good enough to be able to kind of play around with that. It's Thanksgiving. It's a short week. It's the holidays, intensity, and on the road. Kick the extra point. And before anyone tries to kind of push back on that, I'm like, well, because of the 2-score versus 1-score, they would have, if you go back, if we look at it, and they just kick the extra point, then the score would be 23-21, and then just a field goal wins it. And if you want to say, hey, you can't say that they're not good enough to be able to do that, you got to play the football the right way, blah, blah, blah. They couldn't even kick a field goal at the end of the game. This is clearly not the team that can do anything extra. Just do the basics. Just do the fundamentals. Just do Pee-wee football. Football 101. Okay? Introductory to football. Whatever. They couldn't even get a field goal off. Don't tell me that they're going to be able to play these games and start to do 2-point conversions now and try to play the math game. Just don't do it. Because again, now a field goal would have put them in position to win the game. And again, they clearly have proven week after week to be incapable of doing just the fundamental elementary aspects. So it's just, you have to know who your football team is. You have to know how well coached you are. You have to know how organized, how ready this team is for the moment. And the answer is clearly not. Caleb in the first half was 5 for 15, 34 yards. It was just crazy. And we're seeing, obviously, we continue to see some of the really highs for Caleb, right? He had that really nice scramble with like the little toss where he really kind of made sure that the defender kind of bit on Caleb, and then he was kind of able to toss it for 30 yards to more. Like, he's really getting comfortable in that kind of aspect of the game. But like Greg Cosell beautifully put it, like that's actually not what makes you great in the NFL. Like those plays are awesome and they stand out and people associate that with greatness. But these days, we're seeing like a lot of players do this now. I mean, like seriously, we see a lot of players. And again, I love it and it's great and it is important to be able to do that. But being also able to really consistently do the fundamentals, to be an elite playmaker from the pocket. I think that's the problem with like the Lamar Jacksons, the Josh Allens, and the Patrick Mahomeses of the world, is that they're so special physically and athletically and they can do all of those really, really special plays that it takes away. People don't realize also what also really makes them elite is their ability to just attack you in the pocket. And they think that what makes you special is the ability to constantly roll out, scramble, leave the pocket, do all that stuff. And it's just not the way it goes. And now Caleb is making some really beautiful throws. I mean, he throws a beautiful ball. But when you see like some of the throws that he's making, it's not really, it's at the end of the day, it ends up being so much more play design rather than quarterback play. It's not like you can see some of the throws that he's making, even like big chunk plays. It's a beautiful throw and a beautiful play, but you can see it's not based on any type of like anticipatory throw. So it's like it doesn't even take like a big leap in skill set necessarily. So again, he's executing the offense in that moment, which is great and really important. But I would love, you want to see him almost like make some throws if they ever highlight these types of throws on the broadcast. Essentially, where you see like a receiver like head down, nowhere near the ball, and Caleb lets go of it, and then then the receiver obviously is going to run and catch it. Like those types of plays when we especially talk about elite playmaking or moving the defenders with your eyes and whatnot, like those are some of the things that I want to see Caleb do that I haven't really necessarily seen him. It's not to say that he's never done it, but it's just like even in a game like this, and again, I didn't watch the all 22, so I can't say with certainty, but it's just like some of those things, which what Caleb has been relying on his special right now is just kind of like the little bit of scrambles, a little bit of tosses, which is good, but I would just love to see him kind of continue to do some of these other things within the pocket, and because that's ultimately is what's going to make you elite. That's ultimately is what's going to be the foundation of your special. The foundation of your special is not to kind of scramble, avoid pressure, and do a little toss. At least not to get to that truly top level, next level, like, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen stratosphere. But then obviously the second half was significantly better. They had like, I don't know if they had a single third down conversion in the first half. But then in the second half, they were 7 for 15, so obviously significantly better. Overall, 20 for 39, 256 yards, 3 touchdowns, 5 sacks, which are obviously all terrible, and a 97.8 rating. So this game had a little bit of everything. This was arguably the most perfect encapsulation of the Chicago Bears season. Truly. A game that they absolutely could have won. This was a game for them to win. Terrible coaching decisions. Terrible decisions at the end game, so now terrible game management, terrible preparation, because I don't know what the plan was going into this first half. I mean, like, just to start the game, it was just awful, obviously. And then the second half completely turned it around. Everyone seemed more settled. Caleb seemed more settled. They got some momentum. The defense is stopping. The defense only gave up, I think, that one touchdown, and I think it was the first drive for the Lions, first or second drive, and then it was just nothing, completely shutting down the most high-powered offense in the NFL right now, and now the Chicago Bears and the offense is starting to roll and get some rhythm going, some beautiful throws by Caleb, beautiful play designs, just great football, only to be completely ruined. And it's just like if anyone wanted to be like, hey, what did this season look like? Hey, I was away. I was camping and I didn't have access to the NFL. I heard Caleb Williams got drafted by the Bears. How did he do? What did that look like? It's like, you know what? I'm going to show you the Thanksgiving game. If you want to have any idea what the Chicago Bears season looked like and Caleb's rookie year looked like, this is it. I'm going to show you the Detroit Lions versus Chicago Bears Thanksgiving game. Any conclusion that you need to draw about what's right and wrong about this team, here you go. You don't have to watch any other game, just this game. Dissect it, take down the notes, and you will know every single thing about this team. It's just a perfect representation of who they are. They could be great. They could win. They could be special. They also could be comically, hilariously awful, where it looks like a cartoon that has like a bucket on his head and they can't see and they're just like running into walls. I mean, it's just like this team actually could have legitimately been a playoff team and a playoff winning team this year. There's no doubt in my mind. No doubt in my mind. But this is like I said, man, I don't know if I'm watching, an episode of Family Guy, The Simpsons, American Dad, or if I'm watching an NFL team play. It's just like, I don't even know where I am. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Chicago Bears, how this game unfolded? I'd love to hear your thoughts beyond, obviously, just the final 30 seconds, since, again, that's obviously going to be a dominant talking point. Obviously, share your opinions on that as well, but would love to hear your thoughts on just the game overall as a whole, too. Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.